Hey guys, this is Rick, also known as Strict9 from hdforums.com. I decided to make this video to show how I created a high flow air cleaner using the stock air box from my 2017 Road Glide Special equipped with the Milwaukee 8107. After looking at some different options, I do kind of like the stock air cleaner look. I wanted to keep something like that. The only thing that was really out there is the Screaming Eagle high flow air cleaner, and there were some things about it that I just didn't like, including the price. $185 is highway robbery for that kit, honestly. I didn't also like the wedge shape of the filter. It was more wedge shaped than the actual K&N that I ended up using, which is the HD 1717 filter element designed to work with the stock airbox. And frankly, with my modification, I believe this airbox will actually flow better than the Screaming Eagle option. So with that said, I needed to start out with another donor, backing plate, and screen assembly so that I had something to work from, especially to get the screen material that I needed. And also, just in case this didn't work out correctly, I wasn't really cutting up my own airbox. So I actually scored this donor for $15 used from eBay, and that included shipping. So all in, with the cost of the K&N air filter, which was $60, by the time I bought the epoxy that you're going to see that I used in here for the project, I really only ended up having a total of $80 in this project. This is the beginning of the stage 1 kit that I am putting in. I'm also adding the Tab Performance BAM sticks, and I am tuning this vehicle with the Power Vision PV2. So all this will come together. I'll get some clips down the road with some sound and everything else once I have everything installed. Okay, what you see me pointing at here is the tamper-proof hex bit that holds the outer part of the airbox to the back plate. I used a T15 Torx to get it out, though it was loose. It would take, I think, either a 1/8 hex tamper-proof or 9/64 tamper-proof. As I remove this, there's just a couple of small clips after the screw's out. It really comes apart quite easily. You can see those clips kind of on the bottom there to work with this piece. What I needed to do here was get the screen out of here so I could use it for the other part of my project. And also, this will be the piece that I'm going to cut. This is off the donor vehicle. Didn't want to cut my actual airbox. Just in case the project went bad, I could always go back to stock if I needed to. So we're going to try and get that screen out of there. This is useful information for you, even if you're like doing a project where you wanted to do some blackout to paint that screen for whatever reason for your needs. It's easy to get out of there. What you see me pointing at here, the whole piece slides right out of there quite easily, but that little part right there is just a small clip that holds, basically sandwiches the metal screen between two plastic pieces. Little pulling and it comes right out of there. There's a notch at the bottom where a little tab that it fits into. After that's removed, you can get the screen loose and on its own, and now you can do whatever you need to do with it. And in this case, we were going to reshape this to cover the new opening that I'm going to create on this piece on the bottom side and also on the side. I kind of struggle with some different designs on this. You could do it any way you wanted to. You could drill holes. I opted to cut out and kind of keep a wedge look to go along with the actual shape of the airbox itself, almost to look like a factory piece. Here you can see the donor screen that I've already kind of pre-shaped. It's a pretty stiff stainless steel screen, but it is pretty malleable. It's not too bad to move around and shape as you want it to be. My idea, my vision was to cut out kind of a side and bottom opening to give the maximum amount of additional airflow through that part of the air cleaner. And so I wasn't sure how it was going to work out, but it turns out the screen was shaped just about like it needed to be for what I wanted to do, just as it was. Obviously, I did have to do a little trimming there once I got the final product done, but it was not hard to do it all with some tin snips. Next thing I needed to do was mark off what I needed to cut out. I optioned to use some blue painter's tape. Drew on that just a little bit to get some of the contour and whatnot, using the outer perimeter of that blue tape as my guide to get the cut that I wanted to do. I used a Dremel tool with the plastic cutting disc. Worked pretty well. I will say the cut was pretty rough when it was all said and done, but I was able to easily shape it with a little bit of a stone tool with the Dremel. Came out quite nice. So here you see me test fitting the screen to the inside. As you see, I have that blue tape angled there. I did that to avoid cutting any part out that had to do with that tab on the right. That reinforcement actually extends in, and the screen sits on top of that, but I felt it was important to leave it there. With all the vibration of the bike and everything, I didn't want that clip to break, so I wanted to trim my piece around that. So after the test fit, I went ahead and did my cutout here. It's mostly smoothed up. I didn't quite have everything ironed out the way I wanted to here yet. There was a little more polishing I did on the inside to shape it and get it better suited to where I wanted, but the window came out pretty well there. Next thing I needed to do was prepare the inside of the piece to allow for the epoxy to hold with the plastic. So I scuffed up the inside there with some sandpaper. You can also see a good view of that tab I was talking about, and you can see why I wanted to kind of work around that. I think that's an important support piece. So after working with the sandpaper all the way around the edges there where the screen was going to fit, I used the epoxy, basically a nice little bead all the way around there, and clamped everything into place with several clamps, as you see. Remarkably, these clamps did not stay glued to everything, which was one of my worries, but for some reason it didn't, and that's great. Worked out just like I wanted it to. It's important to leave this clamped for, if you use the epoxy that I used, it takes at least 30 minutes for it to set up nice and dry to where it's pretty solid. I believe this spec was after an hour you have a 500 psi hold, and after 24 hours it's like 1200 psi hold. So it's very strong epoxy, very good stuff, and it worked well for holding this into place. You can kind of see how I beaded it around and how the mesh kind of embeds into the epoxy along with the plastic. So good strong hold there. I don't have any qualms about it coming loose, any issues like that. And even if it did, it's really not a bad scene, just something that I don't want to have happen. Here you can see the screen embedded into the opening. Everything's glued up and nice and tight. I'm done with the finish at this point in time. Went ahead and reassembled the air cleaner. The look came out a little better than actually what I had thought it might. I'm very happy with the results, what you can see there, and it looks even better on the bike. Once everything was done, I also want to throw out here the differences between the K&N air filter and the stock air filter. Here you can see them side by side. The K&N is quite a bit larger than the stock filter from Harley. You know, I'm not an engineer. I don't know what the surface area difference is between the two, but on the wedge side, on the high side there, it's very, very thick. There's a lot of air that can come through there. What you can't really see in these photos is how much bigger around that filter actually is, but there you can see a huge difference on the leading edge of the filter. If you looked at the Screaming Eagle wedge photos earlier in the video, it gets much narrower at the tail end of this thing than this one does. So I think this is a better filter in my opinion. Here you can see it installed on the bike before I put the cover on, just to show how everything came together, how it fits in there nicely. And you can really see the width of the front edge of that filter. It's a big filter. Cover on, everything installed. This is the end result. Again, very, very pleased with what came out of it. I hope that you find this video of interest. Maybe encourage you to do something on your own. Again, this project cost me $80 in total versus the $185 for the Screaming Eagle equivalent. I actually am very pleased with the look of this. It's kind of custom, has its own vibe going. So your mileage may vary. Anyway, thanks for watching the video. If you have any questions, post up at the bottom. I'll be happy to answer. Thanks again. This is Rick, also known as Strict9, hdforums.com. Take care, folks. Thanks for watching.